What's up, guys? In today's video, I'll be giving my recap and review of UFC 327. Now, I'm putting this video out pretty late because the plan was put out some in-person content from the event. I actually had the opportunity to go to UFC 327, and it was a fucking blast, man. The goal was to put out some in-person content Saturday night, Sunday morning, and put out my recap slash review on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. Unfortunately, I started posting videos on Saturday night, and then I pull out my phone. I was getting notifications like crazy. Turns out the UFC had YouTube delete my shit and hit it with a copyright strike, unfortunately. So Saturday watched the event, got some footage. Sunday put out a few shorts, some stills with some commentary, and then Monday the recap slash review came out. So like I said, I wanted to put this out earlier, but UFC kind of threw a wrench in my plans with the copyright shit. So without dragging things on, let's get into it. First fight of the night was Charles Radke versus Francisco Prado. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see all of this one in person live. I got there pretty early. I figured I'd give myself some breathing room to get seated so I could see like the pre-fight setup and all that. But when I got there, they had a nice booth outside with some merch. They had plenty of T-shirts, replica belts, gloves, like Funko Pops of the UFC fighters, bunch of cool shit. Got in line, bought a shirt for the event, the black 327 shirt with this logo on the back for 40 bucks. Not bad at all. Definitely a shirt I'll be wearing, around in my day to day at the gym and stuff like that. Um, from there, got in line thinking, all right, I'll have a few minutes to spare. I'll get to my seat, sit down. I'll catch the beginning of the fight. I was wrong. Little did I know that Donald Trump was going to be at the event, so Secret Service was there on top of the regular security. So rather than just going through the security like normal, like you do at any event, they beefed it up. It took a lot longer. They were a bit more thorough. So by the time I got to this fight, it was the second or third round, I believe. I don't remember exactly. It was either the end of the second, beginning of the third round. From what I do remember, Francisco Prado poked Charles Radke in the eye. He hit him with an eye poke, and the crowd was pretty empty at the time. And like I said, first fight of the night, so it was about like 20-25% full. And all of the people in the crowd unanimously were yelling, "Take a point! Take a point!" And the ref, who I believe was Mark Goddard, like I said, I only saw a bit of this fight. I believe it was Goddard. He had the judges take a point, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's nice when the judges take eye pokes and groin shots and shit like that pretty seriously. So Francisco Prado lost a point. Um, I definitely saw the third round in full, so that's the one I'm going to speak about. Radke, he did land a takedown, got it reversed, outstruck Prado on the feet. They were pretty bloody. Radke was pretty bloody. Blood all over the canvas. First fight of the night, and I think it was the second most bloody one behind Hokit and Blades. But this fight, unfortunately, I didn't get to catch all of it, so I don't want to speak too much on it. We got a lot of fights to cover. Second fight of the night, I saw this one in full. This one was fire. Kevin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. Now, Kevin Gastelum, he's, he fought Izzy for the interim belt at middleweight. He's definitely someone he's a vet in the sport, but man, he was looking decent at first. I mean, not physique wise, he's not kind of a crazy physique. I'm not gonna lie. This dude definitely skips leg day. With that being said, in the striking, he was decent. He had some decent overhands. Joe Rogan was actually talking about how powerful he looked with his overhands. Shot a double leg takedown, got it to the floor, and then from there he had Luque in a front headlock. He held it tight, but Luque slipped out of it, and then they were striking. Luque hit Gastelum with a left uppercut, dropped him, hit him with landed a takedown or a knockdown, sorry, not takedown, knockdown. From there, submitted Gastelum with an anaconda choke, and pretty entertaining fight. Stopped in the first round via sub. Gastelum was looking he was looking pretty decent. He was outstriking Luque, landed a takedown, controlling him, right? Had the front headlock. Luque slipped out of it, dropped Gastelum, and then submitted him with the anaconda choke. Definitely, I don't want to say underwhelming, but I wanted Gastelum to win. I was a little biased towards him, so sucked to see him lose, but definitely a great win for Luque. It was a solid win. The final fight of the prelims. Now, this is one that I saw to completion. Chris Padilla won. Originally, it was like I said, majority decision for Padilla. However, they've overturned it since the fight to a draw, and I don't believe they announced at the event why this was. I don't want to speak on this fight too much because, like I said, I don't know why they overturned it. I know at one point Medeiros hit Padilla with either, you know, a nut shot or he poked him in the eye, and then the whole crowd again, man, was screaming, "Take a point, take a point," which is one of the coolest fucking things ever. I mean, I have never seen like a crowd come together and unanimously agree on everything. Some people say John Jones is the GOAT. Some people say he's not because he popped for PEDs. Some say Aspinall's a quitter for the eye poke. Some say that the eye poke was a valid reason to stop the fight. Like, UFC fans, we disagree on everything, but watching people yell "take a point" in unanimous agreement in person was pretty fucking cool, bro. I'm not gonna lie. So, like I said, this fight originally was a win for Padilla. I don't know why they've overturned it since then, so I don't want to speak on it too much. But from what I did see and what you can obviously see with the stats, Padilla was the better fighter, higher takedown percentage, even though 1 for 4 and 1 for 6 aren't anything crazy. More total strikes, more significant strikes. With even if you ignore the point that they took from Medeiros, Padilla won that. I believe it would have been like a what 29-28 or 30-27 without the point taken. So with it would have been like a 30-26 or 29-27. Really don't know why they overturned this. I'm gonna look into that later. Um, First fight of the prelims. This was a fire fight. Godinez versus Suarez. Bro, say what you want about women's MMA. It has been decent lately. Like, Grosso versus Barber, fire fight. Jandiroba versus Richie, not as good, but definitely a good fight. Like, it was a solid fight in and of its own right. And then Suarez versus Godinez, another great fight. Now, Suarez, she's a beast in the strawweight division. She's only ever lost to Zhang Wei Li, so she's definitely somebody to be reckoned with. With that being said, she's had a history of injuries and inactivity, periods of layoffs, which are due to injuries, I believe. I mean, if there's other personal things, I'm not sure about that. With that being said, when she went into this fight, I was nervous for her because in the first round she did lose. I mean, she was taken down twice. She landed more strikes, but those were more so like defensive strikes in response to being controlled. It wasn't like on the feet, it wasn't like, actual punches or kicks that were at range or anything like that. Those were while being controlled. So she lost the first round 10-9, I'd say. I was very nervous for her because there was at one point in time, I know it says 0 sub attempts, but it looked like she was in a position where I thought she would get submitted. And I was very surprised because she is one of the better female fighters. And like I said, she's only ever lost to Zhang Wei Li, who was the champion and will become champ again. So I was very nervous for her. However, at some point or not at some point, but in the second round, for whatever reason, a switch flipped and she put it in gear, bro. I mean, Tatianasuarez flipped a switch, dropped Godinez on her head, took her down. It looked like Bilal versus Leon Edwards, dropped Godinez on her head. Godinez got back up. Tatiana went to take her down again. Godinez grabbed the cage illegally. Crowd went crazy. Suarez got her down anyway and then submitted her via rear naked choke. Like, Suarez in that second round, I don't know what happened to her. She must have just like found that dog in her not to lose. Came out, dropped Godinez on her neck, took her down again, despite the fact that Godinez was grabbing the fence illegally, and then submitted her in the second round. This was a solid fight, man. I really enjoyed this fight. Like I said, people say what you want about WMA. It has been on fire recently. Next up, Gamrot versus Ribovics. Now, by this point in time, this was easily the biggest like fan favorite fight of the night. Gamrot, he got it done round 2 submission. It was a head and arm triangle. This was a solid fight. I went with one of my boys and I was telling him, Gamrot is one of the best wrestlers in the lightweight division, if not in the UFC as a whole. He, in the first round, he had 2 out of 3 takedowns, no knockdowns. He outstruck Ribovics pretty decently. Not a whole lot in terms of the wrestling to come out of it. No submission attempts, as you can see. From there, it was a lot of control, some striking in, what was it? He had him in like half mount. Rubovics had him in half guard. Gamrot was on top, landing, some elbows. Nothing too crazy. I don't think there was a whole lot of blood, if any. But by the second round, Gamrot, he kicked it into gear, kind of like the Suarez fight, except he wasn't losing the first round. 2 for 3 on his takedowns, submitted Ribovics via head and arm triangle. This was a pretty solid fight. I mean, like I said, by this point in time, Gamrot was the most fan favorite fighter of the night to step into the octagon. Did not disappoint. Everybody went crazy for him when he walked in. Everybody went crazy for him when he won. Cousin Gamrot got the win. Gamer Gamrot. It was awesome to see him fight live. Like, I'm glad that he got this win. I know people, not a whole lot of people, so I won't say people were saying this, but I did see once or twice people saying that he was washed after losing to Oliveira because Oliveira just got beat by Ilya. Bro, a loss to Charles Oliveira is nothing to be like down about. Charles Oliveira is one of the best fighters of all time, most subs in UFC history, only lost in recent history to Arman Tsarukyan, Ilya Topuria, and Islam Makhachev. Two of those guys are top 2 pound for pound fighters in the entire sport. So Gamrot, that loss to Oliveira is not bad. He has a win now over another ranked fighter at Ribovics. But prior to that was Ludovic Klein, who's not ranked. But Gamrot, I think he'll fight Patty next. Maybe who else? Dan Hooker, maybe. I mean, Chandler's fighting Rufy. Gamrot does not need to fight Holloway. There's no need to remake the Oliveira fight. Who else? Gaethje's fighting for the belt. Arman would not fight him, and I don't think he'll fight BSD. So let's say Patty or Hooker makes the most sense. I would love to see him fight either of those guys. It would be a fire fight either way. Kevinholland versus Randy Brown. Now this fight was interesting. This was possibly the funniest shit I've ever seen. Randy Brown came out and everybody loved him. He came out, everybody cheered, and louder than a lot of the other fighters. I was like, okay, Randy Brown's a fan favorite. I didn't know that. And then Kevin Holland comes out, and the crowd fucking erupted. It was one of the loudest things I've ever heard in my life. The cheers for Kevin Holland. And then after he got into the cage, they turned the camera back to Randy Brown, and everybody started booing this man for some reason. I was like, bro, you guys were just cheering for him a minute ago, and now you're booing him. Like, I don't know what caused the switch up, but that shit was hilarious, bro. This fight was solid. I'm surprised it went the distance. Kevin Holland locked up a nasty choke in the second round. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but the first round, let's see. Kevin outstruck Brown. He outstruck him. There was no takedowns, no he didn't have any takedowns or submission attempts, no knockdowns, so nothing too excited. There's a lot of fights and a lot of rounds I want to get to, so I'm not going to drag that on too long. Second round, though, I don't remember how he got on the floor, how Randy Brown got on the floor, because there's no takedown or knockdown, but Kevin locked up a choke that was so tight that the crowd was screaming. Like, people thought Randy Brown was asleep at times because Kevin was choking him for so long and Randy Brown never tapped that, like, I at some point thought that the ref, whoever it was going to let him go because it was just the fact that Randy Brown got out of it. I don't know if it was a Darce choke or what specifically. I couldn't exactly see given my my angle where I was sitting, but the choke was locked up so tight. Joe Rogan does classic line of, "Ooh, that's in there deep. That's tight. I don't think he's getting out of there." And then of course Randy Brown got out of it, but Kevin Holland by the end of the second round was definitely up on points. What would it be 2018? 210-9s. And then at this point in time, I thought, okay, Randy Brown, he knows he's down bad on points, so he needs to get in there and get a big finish in that third round. That is not what happened. He was outstruck even worse, 64-25, 17-14. Kevin, fan favorite. This is actually my second time seeing him fight live, and he never disappoints, bro. At least not in person. I mean, some of the fights I've seen on the TV or at the bar, not necessarily, living up to expectations, but Kevin Holland, absolute beast. Randy Brown showed a lot of heart. I was genuinely surprised he got that choke, whatever it was in the second round. Could not see it too well. I wish I had a better angle for that one, but exciting fight, great matchup. Kevin, I don't know who he's going to fight next. Randy Brown, I don't know either. I don't know. I'm not even sure if Kevin is ranked at welterweight at this point in time. I'm not sure. I mean, he just lost to Rodriguez, so who knows? Maybe he'll fight Rodriguez next. That's how he just bailed him out, which is crazy. That's actually really fucking crazy. Final fight of the prelims: Patriciopitbull versus Aaronpico. Now, this fight, Pico won. He dominated, but it really wasn't as crazy as people say. Like, if you look, Pico definitely had way better stats, 49 to 104 in total strikes, 6 out of 13 in takedowns, but it was one of those fights where like the first round was close and then it just got closer it got clearer and clearer that it was a win for Pico. Pitbull, he's older, he was slowing down a bit. I don't know if it's his cardio or what, but first round he was outstruck 17 to 25. Stuff 3 of Pico's takedowns. He was looking decent. He wobbled Pico as well. I was like, all right, Pico won that one 10-9, but it wasn't too bad for Pitbull. Second round, Pico, he was just faster. He was more powerful. 2 for 4 in takedowns this time, so a slight improvement from 1 out of 4 to 2 out of 4. 49 to 19 total strikes, widening that gap, showing the age difference, showing that these guys are of a different caliber at this point in time. No knockdowns, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, no knockdowns. It was one of those things where like Pico was hitting him hard. Pitbull was bleeding a little bit around the nose and the mouth at this point in time, but no knockdowns, no takedowns that led to submission attempts. So nothing crazy. I mean, like I said, this was one of those fights that it was clear Pico won, but people were talking about this fight like it was generational. Like, Pico was in line to fight for a belt or something. I did not get that I didn't get that impression myself, but it is what it is. Third round, 30 to 13, 3 for 5. So again, another improvement in the takedowns. Strikes, it's a decent gap, 13 to 30. Pico definitely won. He had Pitbull bleeding a bit. No submission attempts from the takedowns because Pitbull, he was getting up out of there. His wrestling defense was decent, but his just looked like his cardio was gassing out, man. I mean, I don't know if it's just his age or what, but really not a whole lot to say about this fight. People were going crazy for it, but I don't think there was a whole lot to say. Now, this is where we get to the good shit, bro. The main card. Now, before cubswanson and Nate Landwehr, every fight leading up to this, there was like a strict schedule of like when the lights would come on and off, when the music would play, how long the walkouts would be, etc. At some point, there was like a bit of uncertainty in the air where the lights came on for some reason and no one could tell what was going on. There was like some pausing, and then out of nowhere, a Kid Rock, I don't know the name of the song, but a Kid Rock song starts playing, and then Donald Trump and Dana come out of the fighter entrance. They're walking down. Everybody pulls out their phones. They're recording. Crowd is going crazy. One of the loudest things I've ever heard in my life. Everybody's cheering for Trump. Trump comes in. He's shaking fighters' hands, shaking spectators' hands. Marco Rubio was there. Shook his hand. He gets situated. Crowd is going crazy. He said a few words, I believe. Sat down next to Hunter Campbell, and then from there, Nate Landwehr comes in. And he does his walkout. Nothing crazy gets in. cubswanson comes out though. Crowd goes fucking nuts. cubswanson comes out. Crowd is going crazy. He has a nice long walkout. It is, crowd is going absolutely nuts. The music's playing. He's in the moment. He is calm. It's his retirement fight. Does not look nervous at all. Gets in there with Nate Landwehr. Beats the fucking brakes off of him, bro. 40 to 15 total strikes. 2 knockdowns. I mean, dude, this fight was crazy. cubswanson got in there. Now, everybody wanted him to win. That was very clear. The only fighter of the night that was a bigger fan favorite was jiriprochazka. cubswanson goes in there. Everybody was a little uncertain. You could tell that they wanted him to win, myself included, right? It's a retirement fight. First round, nothing happens. A few strikes traded here and there, a bit of uncertainty, a little bit of tension in the air. Then out of nowhere, cubswanson, bro, his punches his fists were lead, bro. Like he was holding something in his hands, bro. He had brass knuckles or something, bro. Not literally, of course. I know someone's gonna give me shit for that, but dude, his punches sound like fucking gunshots. He goes in there, wobbles Landwehr bad. Crowd goes crazy. cubswanson's, he's creeping up on him with his hands down. Didn't even have his hands up to guard. Drops Landwehr. Landwehr gets up. cubswanson pieces him up, bro. Goes in, drops him again. Ground and pound to finish. Crowd is electric. He's going crazy. He's not. He's calm, actually. He's not going crazy. Everybody else is. The guy who got the knockout is the calmest guy in the arena, bro. Crowd goes nuts. They play a montage for him, right? All his highlights, his retirement. He hugs his wife, kisses her, hugs his kids, you know, beautiful post-fight interview. Joe Rogan thanks him for everything he's done, says he's a legend, you know, deservingly so. President shakes his hand, gets his nice finish bonus, bro. You know, he got whatever his win bonus is, gets the finish bonus. Beautiful ending for Cub Swanson. You could not write a better ending for him, man. Absolutely glad I could have been there to see this fight. It was honestly crazy, man. The first minute of the first round, nothing happened. And I was nervous for him, bro, because I was like, all right, like, I'm not seeing anything yet to know if he's got this. He had it, bro. He was in there, hands down, confident, bro. Just knew what he had to do, got it done. Congratulations, Cub. It was amazing. It was an honor watching your final fight, man. This fight, though, absolute dog shit, bro. Coughing baby versus coughing baby. Johnny Walker and Dominickreyes. If you would have asked me the day before the fight, I would have bet my life that this fight does not go the distance, bro. I would have bet dude, you talk about battle of the glass chins. Imagine a glass chin that is shattered and put together using scotch tape. If these guys threw 10 more punches each, somebody would have gone to sleep, but they threw what? 76 punches in 15 minutes, bro. I don't even understand how Reyes won. I don't even know how you would score this. I mean, what, 10-17? Okay, let's give it to Walker just based on total. Like, nobody bled. No one got a takedown. No one knocked anyone down, right? Okay, we'll give it to Walker. Second round, all right. Walker outstruck him again. No, he shot a takedown. Cool, he was trying something, right? Not enough, but he tried something, right? Reyes, nothing. And then, all right, Reyes outstruck Johnny Walker by 3 in the final round. Like, this fight, I have never seen a crowd boo somebody so badly in my life. Bro, people were pulling out their phones, turning their flashlights on, and waving them like it was a slow song at a concert. Everybody was booing these guys. Like, there was chance of, like, what was it? This is bullshit. You know, you guys suck. The entire stadium was chanting that they sucked. These guys threw 76 strikes, 1 takedown attempt in 15 minutes, bro. I want my money back for this fight, bro. I prorate it. I don't care. Give me like 1 out of 9 or 1 out of 10% of the ticket price. I don't care. This fight was. And Johnny Walker sitting here fucking smirking at me, bro. He knows what he did. Curtisblaydes and Joshhokit, you redeemed it. You know what? Johnny Walker, Dominickreyes, at least this was sandwiched in between Cub Swanson's banger of a performance and then Curtisblaydes versus Joshhokit. Like, if I had to see the Walker fight, the Reyes fight, at least it's in between these two fights. Joshhokit and Curtisblaydes. People were saying this is the best heavyweight fight of all time. I can't say that, but it is definitely up there and is definitely the best heavyweight fight I've seen this year, bro. Joshhokit, we owe you an apology for all of the shit we said after your pre-fight antics, bro. Like, that was a big gamble to go out there acting as goofy as he did, but it paid off. I mean, he beat number 5 ranked Curtisblaydes, the 5th best ranked heavyweight in the world, and he is now fighting on the White House card. So Joshhokit, congratulations. You took a massive gamble and it paid off, man. Curtisblaydes, though, I don't wanna, take away from him. He put out a great performance too. I mean, the first round he clearly won that. He had, let's see, 77 strikes to 41, right? 2 out of 4 on the takedowns, no knockdowns, more significant strikes. Curtisblaydes had a solid first round. I mean, Joshhokit, he was trying what he could, shot a takedown, missed, but or got it stuffed, not missed. But I mean, this first round was decent. It was for Blades, and I thought, all right, Blades has it. I didn't really bet on this fight specifically, so I didn't know who to pick. I wasn't not too sure, but I was thinking Blades had it. Second round though, it was closer. A lot of people I saw scored it for Hokit. I'm sorry, yeah, a lot of people I saw scored it for Hokit. Saw a few score it for Blades, and I can see why. I mean, he had more strikes, and there was these guys were both bleeding like crazy. You can't say either one based on damage-based scoring, but round 3, this one I gotta go Hokit, man. Hokit he outstruck Blades. Damage-based scoring had that too. Had Blades bleeding like crazy. Both these guys are bleeding. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to disrespect Blades and downplay his performance, but Hokit, he had a nasty moment where he hit Blades, took a few steps back. Maybe he got hit himself. I don't even remember because all I remember was he took a few steps back, pulled out that middle finger like Nate Diaz. I was dying, bro. I thought it was hilarious. Like, he's bringing a flair to the UFC, WWE type flair that we need in the heavyweight division, where guys kind of just stand at range. Taliesin Teixeira, Tai Tuivasa put their hands on their hips. Guys like Muhammad Usman popping for PEDs. Um, Jailton Almeida just not throwing punches. You know, not trying to get out of takedowns. So Hokit and Blades. This was one of the craziest fights ever that I've ever seen. Awesome to see it in person. Hokit, who knows? He's nowhere near in line for the belt. He beat number 5. Yeah, but you got Aspinall's the champ. He'll fight the winner of Pereira versus Aspinall. It'll be Pereira versus Gone. And then you have Volkov will fight Waldo Cortez Acosta. And then I'm sure whoever wins will be ahead of Hokit. But Hokit, minimum of 1, maybe 2 wins from now, and he'll be fighting for a belt. Blades, let's see who he fights next, man. I hope the UFC doesn't do him too dirty. He took on this unranked fighter, second one in a row. Took on Kuniev before, and company man. He's doing what he's asked, I'm sure. So hopefully the UFC takes care of him. Definitely a good dude. Definitely a good fighter. Shows a lot of heart as well. Definitely don't want to take away from Blades either. Paulo Costa versus Azmat Mirzakhanov. This one surprised me, bro. I'll be honest with you. I thought Azmat would win. Undefeated in the UFC. Costa moved up into his division. Costa, it looked like at UFC 302, he was scared of Strickland. I figured, bro, if you're scared to engage with Sean Strickland, who at the time was still jabbing and teeping, this was before that performance over Hernandez, there's no way you're going to move up to light heavy and then beat Azmat, who is undefeated, and he's putting people to sleep. Little did I know, I was wrong. Paulo won the first round, outstruck Azmat 23-7. There was a moment I do have to say though, even though Paulo won and he had a great performance, he did poke Azmat in the eye pretty badly. I don't remember if this was round 1 or 2 off the top of my head. I wish I remembered off the top of my head which one it was. But Paulo, he won the first round. I don't remember if this was the eye poke or not. Damn, man. Second round, Mirzakhanov started to come back. Landed 1 for 2 on takedowns. Paulo won himself. Same amount of strikes. Paulo got a reversal, so this one, honestly, you could say it's based off of the statistics. I mean, Mirzakhanov landed one of the two. Paulo's 0 for 1 in the takedowns. He got the reversal though. There is one submission attempt didn't go through. So second round, yeah, you could argue either way. I wouldn't be too upset. But third round, obviously, Costa got it done. 15-4 in total strikes. Drops Mirzakhanov. I got a nasty picture of this I want to post. I took a lot of live, in-person footage. Unfortunately, the UFC, they sniped my shit, so I got to clean it up and then I'll be putting it out. But this was a lot of highlight-worthy moments in this fight. Shout out to both these guys. Amazing performance by both. Costa, I wonder if he'll fight. Damn, bro, I wonder how long Olberg will be out for with his injury. I really hope they don't do a vacant light heavyweight belt, bro. I really hope they don't. Who knows, man? Maybe Costa will fight like Roundtree or Ankalaev next. That'd be crazy. Mirzakhanov, I wonder who he's got. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe the winner of Guskov versus Blachowicz. Maybe Rakic. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what's next for him. Jamal Hill was there. I could see him fighting Jamal Hill. Doesn't really do much for him. Jamal Hill's 0-3, 2 of which are by finish, by knockout. So we'll see what's up with them boys. And then finally, breaks my fucking heart. Main event, Jiriprochazka versus carlosulberg. Dude, I love Yuri, but I'm not buying the whole he was showing mercy thing because got in there, chewing up Olberg's legs with them kicks. Olberg, he was stumbling, he was falling over. Yuri was smiling. I think that he was playing with his food, bro. I think he should have gone for the kill. Olberg took advantage of that, powered through the injury. Maybe it was a torn ACL, MCL, I'm not sure. There's no official verdict on that. And then knocked Yuri out. I mean, you see videos of people getting knocked out and they fold over. I've never seen that before. It is a crazy experience. I stood up, put my hands on my head like it was my own son. My own son got laid out or something. Like I don't even have kids, and I was terrified, bro. Like when I saw this happen, It broke my heart. Yuri, everybody there in the stands was there for you. Czech flags everywhere. You know, people outside the stand or outside the arena were cheering for you. Olberg walked out. You know, he had his walkout. They made it a big deal. Yuri's came out. It was longer. It was noticeably longer than Olberg's. It seemed like the UFC wanted Yuri to win because he's such a fan favorite. Unfortunately, he could not get it done. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he was showing mercy. I don't know. It looked to me like he was in disbelief that, like, you know, Pereira's gone. He's finally getting his belt back. He has a daughter going to be born soon, if she wasn't born already. God bless. You know, hope everything goes well with the pregnancy. With that being said, it looked like he was in denial. Like, oh man, this is my moment. This is too easy. It's here. Took it for granted. Played with his food. Really hope I'm wrong. Regardless, this is a good fight. I don't know if it's performance of the night worthy, in my opinion. Maybe they gave it to him solely due to the fact that A, it was a title fight, and B, he powered through an injury. I'm not completely sure. That being said, I do not want to take away from Olberg. Olberg, congratulations, man. Great performance. You definitely deserve the belt. You know, he fought and knocked out jiriprochazka, who's only ever been knocked out by Pereira. You know, never had a fight go the distance in the UFC. You were on a 9-fight win streak, now 10. Powered through an injury to get it done. I don't want to take away from you, but performance of the night kind of struck me as interesting, unless they're factoring in that he fought through that injury. If so, you got it, man. Congratulations. Let me know what you guys thought about this event. I want to put out some live footage soon, some in-person footage. I got to clean it up, though. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.